Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 18th Moving the Needle series. This is created by GIZ Fabric through the Asian Dialogue series. Our goal is to provide a platform where we can bring different stakeholders and experts together to discuss opportunities and challenges on the way towards sustainability, to share regional experiences and learn from initiatives tackling sustainability issues in producing countries. So, this webinar today, we will dive into the environmental consequences of textile pollution, exploring microplastics, the harmful chemicals of chemical wastewater, and meeting the people who are helping clean our rivers from textile waste. We will explore innovative approaches to tackling this challenge, emphasizing the importance of waste management and redefining the end of life journey for textiles through creativity and fashion design. Before we begin, I would like to mention there is going to be a poll that shows up in the chat box on the side. Please let me know what you are looking to get out of this webinar today. We would love to be able to achieve the topic and have you guys come out learning more about river waste and how we're cleaning it up. I will give you guys a couple of minutes to do the poll. Awesome. It looks like we have kind of a 50-50 on people wanting to listen and learn more about the topic and to take some tangible actions to move forward. In this regard, please feel free to ask questions in the chat box on the side throughout the webinar. That will be open to you. So if you feel like you have a question for one of our speakers, you can put that question into the chat box at any moment, and we will go through them at the end of the webinar, and we can deep dive a little bit into our speakers' expertise. Now, to start, I would love to introduce our first speaker today. Mr. Tejas Advankar is in charge of providing technical support from the Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals Foundation, the only industry coalition with the goal of eliminating pollution caused by chemicals. ZDHC centers on all wastewater, waste disposal, and water use issues with a focus on textile, leather, and footwear industries. He is working on behalf of ZDHC with stakeholders, technical experts, like-minded organizations, academia, and training institutions outside the ZDHC community on all water competence center activities. That is a mouthful, Mr. Tejas. I feel like you're working a lot. So we would love to just get into it and really learn.
Thank you, Nasya, for the wonderful introduction and giving me this opportunity to present the overview of services what ZDHC has from the water stewardship point of view, or the areas on which, or areas related to the water activities, what ZDHC is associated with. In the presentation, we will be deep diving in on the back history, how ZDHC started, what are the activities from the Water Competence Center we are undertaking at ZDHC. So if you can share the slides, please.
I think it's just going to take a minute to share.
No problem.
But yes, I want to mention we're very excited to have you on board, especially in such a technical level. So anyone listening, please feel free to ask technical questions to Mr. Tejas because he is really an expert in this.
So I think let me first introduce what is ZDHC. ZDHC stands for Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals. In the 10 minutes or the 15-minute slot which we will be having, I will be giving you a brief intro about what ZDHC is all about, what are the activities we undertake, how we collaborate, or what are the institutions we collaborate with, and a brief overview of the projects what we undertake at the ZDHC Water Competence Center. So if you can go to the next slide, please, Nasya. Yeah. So we all know the industry, what we are associated with. So be it textiles, be it leather, be it steel, or be it any other industry, the effluent, what comes out of the industry has major impacts on the environmental aspects. It has impacts on the worker safety. It also has impacts on the consumer safety. So in this slide, we have tried to capture some of the hot burning issues what are actually impacting the areas. So if you see the first photo on the left side of the screen, that relates with the effluent which was out from a steel plant from a Taiwan, and which resulted in many fish which died in the water body. Similarly, the second example is related to the use of a hazardous chemical that is named as potassium permanganate, which is one of a chemical used in the textile finishing, especially for the denim activities. So these are some of the impact areas. And last but not the least, the hazardous chemistry also has impact on the human health. It is passed from one generation to another generation in form of some sort of traces which are brought on from one generation to another generation. So this is the third and one of the most important aspect for a person who was born only with one nostril. And the reason behind that is his mother was associated in production of a chemical which is C8, which is Teflon type of finishing, which is widely used in the textile and the related industry. So that is the reason why there is a need of a sustainable chemistry. This actually started with the campaigning of the NGO called Greenpeace. It started with their first, I would say, the report which they published was the dirty laundry. It goes way back in mid of uh, year 2011, where they collected the effluents from some of the facilities in China, and they published it that these are the mills or these are the suppliers who are catering to the world-renowned retailers, and the effluent what is coming out of the industry is having impact on so many areas. So it didn't stop there. They went on to publish the Dirty Laundry Report 1, Dirty Laundry Report 2, and many other publications which highly mentioned on various activities or the various footprints what with respect to the environmental aspects what uh, the facilities were living. So that is when ZDHC was born. If you can go to the next slide, I can help you where how it all started. So as mentioned, ZDHC is a multi-brand initiative where six signatory brands came together to initiate a joint roadmap in which they outlined the future activities to address this change. This happened way back in 2012, just after the release of the Dirty Laundry report. With certain debates and discussions, in 2015, this multi-stakeholder initiative was given a legal entity named as the ZDHC Foundation, and which was established in Netherlands to successfully implement the various activities or the programs what ZD used to undertake at that point of time. A new entity named as Implementation Hub was formed and established in Netherlands. So that is how ZDHC was born. So ZDHC stands for Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals. I repeat it once more because there are many other things what start to relate with it. If you go on the next slide, I'll further deep dive in what ZDHC is all about. So our vision is a world in a better chemistry leads to the protection of life, land, air, and water. So from our vision, it might be very clear to you what are the areas what we really want to work in. Our mission is to lead our global value chains to achieve the highest standards of the sustainable chemical management, driving resource efficiency and circularity. So sustainable chemical management, resource efficiency, and circularity are actually embedded in our DNA. So, whatever activities we undertake at ZDHC, our vision and mission are closely linked with, and all our actions are linked towards our vision and mission. If you go on to the next slide, I'll further deep dive into it. So, as mentioned earlier, ZDHC is a multi stakeholder initiative which comprises of signatory brands, the leading signatory brands across the world, the chemical industry, the dyes and the chemical formulators catering to textiles, leather, apparel, and footwear industry. The textile manufacturers, the leather manufacturers, the footwear manufacturers are associated with it, as well as our solution providers who implement the programs on our behalf, as well as various industry associates. So ZDHC is a multi-stakeholder initiative comprising of all these signatories who are part of our program. In the next slide, I'll give a brief intro about various activities what we do. So when we say ZDHC, the first and the foremost thing what comes in the mind of majority of the supplier is they have to do the testing of their wastewater or the sludge, which because that is what is recommended to their brands. But that is not the starting point. The starting point is it is a holistic approach towards the chemical management across your input areas, across your process, as across your output areas. We believe strongly in having clean inputs will result in your clean output. That is what our all approach or all narrative is all about. And we want to create a safer place where consumers and worker safety as well as environment protection is of vital importance in the textile and leather manufacturing areas. So, as mentioned earlier, ZDSC is not a certification, but it is a set of combined and a continuous action for improvements in the wet processing areas, with special regards to textile, apparel, leather, as well as footwear industry. We should not get confused with ZDHC to relate it with ZLD or zero liquid discharge or any other wet processing or wastewater treatment technologies. So these are two complete different dimensions altogether. Also, it is also not a distinct from other chemical management certification or approaches which are happening in the industry. In the next slide, I'll give a brief context of what we are actually doing. So with this, to bring in change, we need collaborations. We cannot implement all our programs together. Rather, we need collaborations from all sort of stakeholders in the industry. We need transparency. That is the reason we try to keep all our programs completely transparent, and we are committed towards all the tier of the value chain who are associated with us. So this requires a shift in the mindset, which can be brought by three aspects. In the next slide, I will be deep diving more into this. So ZDHC is all about having a holistic approach towards your input control, towards your process, towards your output, as well as when I say input, it relates with your input chemistry, it relates with the incoming raw materials in terms of fibers of the materials what you procure in. So this is what a holistic approach we are talking on. So if we have clean inputs, we control our process in a such a way, only then we will be having a clear output which comes out of the facility in terms of four aspects. One is the wastewater and sludge, another is the air emission, third is the finished goods which are rejected, and fourth one is the waste what comes out of the industry. These are the four general waste what we are referring about. Yeah, next slide please. So when we speak about ZDHC, ZDHC's MRSL is the backbone of all the program what we work. So MRSL is nothing but manufacturing restricted substance list. It is a comprehensive list of all the chemicals which are banned to be used, or are having certain sort of limits that you can use with this sort of limited control. So this is where this is the framework of all our program. These aspects are the building block for the further programs like the water competence center or the air emission activities or the fibers and materials, and these are impacting the areas related to the water stewardship, the chemical or the biodiversity, the circularity, and the climate change. So all this coming together brings out the sustainable chemical management. We highly leverage by connecting with the like-minded organizations. To name a few, we are closely working with Textile Exchange. We are closely working with the Microfiber Consortium, SAC, that is Sustainable Apparel Coalition, which is now the CASKIL, or very famous for their programs known as HIG Index. We are closely working with them. We are also closely working with the Leather Working Group to address the challenges from the leather perspective. Also, we are as closely associated with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and another institute, Apparel Impact Institute. So these are some of the closely institutes whom we are linked to with. Yeah, in the next slide, I will be deep diving in what Competence Center is all about. So ZDHC was earlier having the program team who was in charge of delivering or generating or publishing the programs what we are currently working in. Then the concept of Competence Center came in. So Competence Center is nothing but the centers or the subject matter experts from various domains who collate, who work on behalf of ZDHC on publishing or upgrading the current guidelines to develop new guidelines. We develop the technical content or the training modules for our ZDHC Academy, which is again, taken care by our approved solution providers. We've set the context for the technical content in the development of tools and the platform of the various major impacts. We undertake various research activities in building technical database as a part of the knowledge center. We also track and incubate innovations as a various new technologies from the various competence center. We collaborate with the like-minded organization for embedding sustainable chemical management practices in their program. We also liaise with the regulatory authorities and science-based initiatives. We also prepare benchmark and the case studies and the industry reports on various of our activities. The competence center at ZDHC is headed by Mr. Prasad Pant, who is our director. We have four competence center, namely sustainable chemical management, which is jointly managed by Dr. Umesh Kure and Dr. Pushkal Sisuvalkar. Water competence center is taken care by me. We have another competence center, fiber and materials, which is headed by Dr. Smita, and we have a fourth competence center, which is jointly managed by Dr. Pushkar and my director, Mr. Prasad Pant. Yeah. In the next slide, I will be deep diving in what are the current activities and what are the future projects, what we are delivering from the ZDSC. So at present, to tackle the wastewater and the sludge part, we have the wastewater guidelines version 2.1, which is covering the MRSL impacts as well as the conventional parameters. So the MRSL parameters are nothing but having a direct linkage to the facility from the chemistry part. The conventional parameter are more to do with the operational and the efficiency of the ETP part. So we have this direct correlation of this, and these guidelines are actually implemented from many top brands and their supply chains globally. So this is what currently we are undertaking. In future, we are in process of developing the new version of wastewater guideline 3.0, which again we are updating it with the MRSL point of view as well as the conventional point of view. We are also tackling the sludge testing and the relevant disposal pathways, because sludge is also a byproduct of the wastewater or the waste which is generated from the ETP. So that also needs to be tackled in a manner so that it does not create any impacts on the areas like air, water, or the land, as well as the human health. These are the vital areas or the areas of vital importance what we take care of. To further link it with this project, we are also working on the ETP efficiency evaluation protocol, which will act as a single platform wherein the buyers or the brands can evaluate their supply chain in terms of the ETP efficiency, as well as it will be a tool which will be helpful for the suppliers to understand where do they stand in terms of their self evaluation of a particular process in the ETP or a particular operation in particular ETP. As you all know, the microfiber shedding is one of an important topic which you might be always getting queries from your brands and the buyers what you're working in. So we are trying to link the total suspended solid as an indicator of the microfiber shedding in the wastewater. So we are jointly undertaking study with the microfiber consortium and a German testing body named as Hohenstein and ZDSC. These are the three stakeholders who are part of this initiative or the project what we are undertaking. And soon we will be coming out with a study to explain how it is linked. We are currently also working on the water efficiency tool in the textile and the leather process to benchmark what should be the adequate or the minimum requirements of water for a particular process to make a particular fabric or a leather. So we are aligning it in that way also. And as you all know, the in as a part of the manufacturing industry, there are various types of waste what the industry generates. So how to handle that waste? What are the aspects needed to take into consideration regarding the waste handling? So we are also coming up with a waste guide to address this issue. Now, these are some of the projects what we are currently working in. So now I will pause my presentation here and I will leave the stage open for you for any sort of discussions or the questions what you plan to have. My email ID is listed on the last slide was Nasya presented along with the customer support ID. So you can reach out to me anytime, any point of time if you have any questions related to ZDHC's Water Competence Center. Thank you, Nasya. Thank you for sharing the slides.
Thank you so much. I actually think we will have some questions in the end, especially in regards some of the reports and projects you guys are working under. It seems like ZDHC's main goal is to achieve the highest standards for sustainable chemical management in a circular manner, which I think for suppliers is something that, coming from a supplier background, has been an active conversation that brands have discussed, and yet is more difficult to implement, I think, especially in regards to just being nature and finding resources to help benchmark exactly what you said. And it does help to find collaboration with brands and the chemical testing industry to be able to find solutions. Now, I will. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Tejas.
Yeah, I think, see, as I mentioned earlier in my slide, the narrative, what is currently there in the industry, whenever someone hears of ZDHC, they start directly linking it with testing of the wastewater and the effluent, what they need to undertake as a requirement from the brand. Which is really needed, but that is not the starting point. The starting point is to focus on your input goods. To start with, have control on your incoming chemicals, have control on your incoming raw materials. That if you have control on that, if you control the process in the right way, the wastewater or sludge, which is the byproduct or the output from the process, what you do, will be really good. That is the change in the narrative what we are trying to bring in. That is the holistic approach what I was trying to emphasize in.
Exactly. It's almost like stopping it before it starts, or at least slowing it down instead of dealing with the consequences. Which, speaking of consequences, that's a perfect transition for me to introduce Miss Jacqueline Plaster to the stage, who is currently in that situation. She will be presenting Everwave and its mission to clean up rivers and canals around the world from waste, focusing on their projects in Cambodia and Thailand. Besides that, she will point out the importance of collaboration as key to success. Everwave collaborates with different stakeholders, the government, other organizations, but also companies who support the cleanup projects and take responsibility to find sustainable solutions for a cleaner future. Hello, Jacqueline. Oh, I think you're muted.
Hear me now?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, perfect. You can also see my screen now.
Yes, perfect. You're welcome to present, and then we can dive deep. I think that's such a great transition from Mr. Tejas discussing how, the byproduct of waste, and then you kind of, an Everwave coming in after to actually try to fix that.
to take the responsibility for the waste that is in the water then. First of all, thank you very much for joining everyone and for this opportunity to present Everwave and our projects here today. Thank you very much, Nazia, and also Tejas for your great insights already. You said some things that I pointed out for myself actually when you talked about mindset change, collaboration and transparency, which are all very crucial points for us from Everwave as well, and the holistic approach. So we have a lot of things in common, but addressing the topic from another angle. I really like that. That feels very, like a great match in this webinar already. What I also want to talk about today is responsibility. As I said, because we see us in the role of doing exactly that, taking responsibility for the waste in our environment and stop it from entering the oceans. And we do that in a very collaborative way. But let me start first. Who is Everwave and what are we doing? We organize long-term cleanup projects, mainly in Southeast Asia and the Balkan region. and we collect the waste out of rivers and lakes. Mostly we do that with our collectics, a collection garbage boats that are called collectics. Sorry, you can see it in that picture. That's a picture from Cambodia on the Mekong River. And we also collect the materials from the shore, around 200 meters along the river sides. Besides that, we also use artificial intelligence that assist our cleanup missions because we also want to understand what we collect. So besides collection of waste, we also collect data. That's how we like to call it, to really tackle the problem in the long run in a sustainable way. We do that via drones. Mainly, we have a research project that is included with the German Artificial Center for Artificial Intelligence. And trying to train the artificial intelligence that it can actually recognize the different materials we find in the environment, which gives us a lot of insights. After that, all the material is sorted into recyclables and non-recyclables. We always try to process the materials in the most sustainable way. This depends a little bit on the country where we are working. In Cambodia, so the project that I'm representing today, we have built up our own sorting facility in the very beginning already. So we're working here since 2 years, and we built up the facility in within the first 3 months, basically in 2022. And all the materials that we are collecting are brought to that facility. But more about that later. The last thing that we're doing within our project and within our work, and this goes along especially also with collaboration, with supporting the government, with working together with other NGOs, organizations, companies. We are supporting that waste infrastructure is built up, because in the areas that we are working, mostly there is no infrastructure existing. So there's basically no other choice than having the waste into the water in the end. And this is the long-term goal. And what I really like about my job, honestly, to share something private, is through all of these different things that we're tackling, we see direct impact, because we actively collect the waste out of the river and process it, but we're also working on long-term solutions. And this is what I really love, and what really makes me happy to work in my job every day. So now some insights, some KPIs from our work. We also do a lot of inspiration through webinars like this, through our social media, through the news or articles. And we're also working together with schools, for example. And through that, we want to promote for the topic itself, of course, but especially on the solution and what we can do about it, and not like too much on the negative side, but more on the positive side. And with that, we have reached over 300 million people already. In total, we have collected 1.4 million kilo waste out of the rivers with our technology and the hand cleanups on the shore. And we have created more than 40 jobs worldwide through our missions. So this includes our jobs in Germany. We are a German-based company, but also our local created jobs. Here's some insights about us. This is our German team that you can see on the left picture, and on our right picture you can see our Cambodian team, because I will focus on our Cambodian project today, and also our partner Remate. I will not share too much about Remate. Very short, Remate takes the clothes that we are collecting, and part of this webinar, like not parts, the topic is textile waste in the environment, and we actually collect a lot of textiles. And luckily we have found a wonderful partner and a wonderful solution to give these textiles new value again. And this is exactly what Remate is doing, but I will leave it to Jamie, who will present after me. Just some words about that. Here you can see our garbage collection boat actively working in the Basak River here in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh. So we are working in the capital city. As you can see, it has like a little bit technical, 2 conveyor belts. The front conveyor belt can go into the water and collects the waste out of the water, and then it is stored on the second conveyor belt. The boat can collect up to 5 tons per day. It always varies on the area. For example, in the Balkan region, it's mostly more because we collect a lot of, more in terms of weight, because we collect a lot of tree trunks also with the plastic. They're very heavy. Here in Cambodia, we have more waste itself, as you can see, and it's all kind of waste. We collect plastic, textiles, which is also plastic mostly. We also collect glass along the shore, so medicals, like really everything. And we do that not only with the boat, we also use barriers, as you can see in the middle picture. That helps us, basically to capture the waste, that it is easier for the boat to collect it afterwards. Then you can see on the left a picture from our sorting facility where everything is brought to and sorted and baled, and then, either recycled or co-processed. The biggest part of the materials are co-processed in Cambodia right now. It is the most sustainable solution that we found so far, and we are in exchange with many, many stakeholders here. Co-processing means that the materials are transported to the south of Cambodia, to Chipmong EcoCycle. They have a cement factory and they use 30% less cement, but instead of the coals, but instead of the coals, so natural resources, they use the plastic. So the plastic waste that we bring to them is replacing natural resources for the production of cement. And in the end, the ash is integrated into the cement as well, which makes this whole process on the sustainability rating in terms of recycling better than incineration. And that's also why we chose this method for our non-recyclable materials. For the recycled materials, we work with local recyclers, and for the textiles, happily, we work together with Remade, which is actually better than recycling because it's upcycling. We give this clothes that we are collecting a new life, and we don't have to use mechanical recycling for it. What you can also see is the topic political network. I talked about collaboration a little bit already. Collaboration is a big topic for us, not a little topic. We see that collaboration is one of the keys to really solve the problem in the future, and that goes into different ways. So we collaborate with local partners. We also collaborate, work together with the local government. We work together very closely here with the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Environment. And we see that as really one of the key points to bring change. We're looking forward to extend collaborations. So anyone who's interested can also feel free to reach out to me later on. Here's some insights about our project in Cambodia, some KPIs. So from the 1.4 million kilo that we have collected in total, actually the biggest part comes from Cambodia. So this is really our biggest project and also our first long-term project that will extend many more years. Here we have collected over 1.1 million kilos. We have a weekly collection about 10,000 kilos and a team size of 18 people locally. I say that in a very proud way, which I am, especially about our team. Of course, it's always like that. It's not really something to be super happy about that there's so much waste in the river, but we are really proud that we were able to collect so much and to free the rivers of this amount of waste in such a short time. And we have a lot of plans for the future to continue that until hopefully all rivers in Cambodia are clean at some point. Here you can see some insights from our sorting facility, which we have called Zero Waste Center, with the big goal that all materials are recycled or processed, upcycled in the most sustainable way. We have some technical equipment for our facility. You can see a conveyor belt, which on the left picture, with which our team is sorting the materials, which is not an easy job. As you can see in the picture already, the material is dirty, there's organic in it, it's smelly, so our team is really, they are the heroes in the end of our whole project. We also sort manually on the ground, so it always depends what the team likes the most. They are free of choice regarding this. Then you can see in the middle how we are baling the material, and then on the right how the belts look like. Here I wanted to explain you very quickly our waste process flow. As I mentioned before, we are collecting on the river with our cleanup collection boat, which is called Collectix. And we are also cleaning up on land, on the shore. Mostly we also do that simultaneously. So when we know there is a spot where our boat can be of use, here in Cambodia on the river, our boat operators together with the boat go to that spot, clean it up, and our team works around them on the shore, that we have that area cleaned. Afterwards, we sort all materials into plastic, organic, and others. And then from the plastic part, most of it goes into the core processing, the recyclables, as far as we collect. Some goes into local recycling processing. And here with organic and others, we are also cooperating with some local processors. Through all these steps, and this is now where the topic transparency that you also talked about, Tejas, comes really in place. We track everything that we are collecting from the beginning until the end. So we have a weight check in the beginning, we have a weight check after it's sorted, and we have a weight check after the material is brought to the co-processing plant or to the recyclers. And this is really important for us to understand how much we collect, to understand the data for us and for research, and also to share with our stakeholders. When we exchange with GIZ, for example, we exchange very closely with GIZ in Cambodia, actually, but also with the government and other stakeholders, and especially, and I come to that later, with companies that support us, because in the end, this is the impact that we can measure, and this is the impact that we can show. And without these numbers, we also don't know how big the problem really is. Then some insights, or some more insights about our inspirational parts. Besides webinars, keynotes, and other public relation topics, if I can say that. We also work together with local artists that created like new art out of the materials that we collected. My favorite one is the turtle that you can see on the right picture. I go 2 slides ahead, so I want to show that now, because the turtle is now actually in the Ministry of Environment in the lobby. So we handed over the turtle to the Ministry of Environment, which made our team also very proud. And it was a really nice handover of this, and also gives inspiration that you can actually do something with this and also create a mindset change of waste, that waste is seen not as waste, but as valuable resources, and that you can do something with it instead of throwing it away. But now I missed one slide, which is another big inspirational part. And here, again, only a little bit, because Jamie will go more into detail. But what you can see is already the textile waste that we are collecting, and how it is turned into fashion afterwards through our collaboration with our partner Remade. Very shortly then again about this slide. It shows honorable moments. As I mentioned, the turtle handover was a really honorable moment for us. We were awarded with the Clean City Hero Award of 2022 from the Ministry of Tourism. And a few weeks ago, the Minister of Environment, His Excellency Dr. Agnes Soffalet, and the German Ambassador Stefan Messerer, the German Ambassador of Cambodia, Mr. Stefan Messerer, visited our project, and we are now in finalizing our project agreements together with the Ministry of Environment to extend our project nationwide. In the left corner, I don't know if everyone is so familiar with Cambodia and the country. So I hope you can see this in the middle where all the different lines with the different colors coming together. It's Phnom Penh, it's the capital city. That's where we're working. And through the project agreement with the Ministry of Environment and our partners, we are aiming to extend our project basically to all the waterways that you can see here within the next years. Then what I'm talking about now for the last slides is another type of collaboration that we see as crucial to really solve the problem, and especially when talking about responsibility, is the collaboration with our funders in the end, or with companies that are supporting our projects. And this is possible through plastic credits. €1 brings 1 kilo waste out of the water. Very easy principle. Or strategic partnerships. We have a project in Thailand, for example, where Audi and the Ferry Porsche Stiftung started provided start financing for our project in Thailand, which made it as possible to start a project there. And we see this really as crucial that also companies are stepping up and be part of that, because otherwise it will always stay in the situation that everyone like points the finger on like the other sector. Like government on the companies on the government, and the consumers, they also needs to take on responsibility. So from our point of view, everyone is responsible for this topic and everyone should be included. So we created the plastic credit strategy many years ago, and we give companies the chance to be actively part of it and to have a direct impact in collecting the waste out of our rivers. And this is also part of a way into extended producer responsibility. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that topic. It explains itself a little bit, meaning that the companies take on responsibility for the products that they are bringing into the cycle, basically. Here you can see how it looks. So if you're a company, a brand, you're interested in being part of our projects, and you decide to do that not with a strategic partnership, but through the plastic credits, you will get a plastic credit certificate. You will know exactly how much is collected. You will know exactly the location, the cleanup project, and you can use that for your CSR goals, or just to know that you were responsible and be part of it. This is one of the last slides. We see ourselves, and this is also part of the inspiration, as a voice for a clean future. So every time we're talking with stakeholders, every time we're showing also our brand, we're talking with companies, we're talking with schools, we are trying to promote positive change and really to focus on the solution rather than the problem. Here you can see some of the partners that are already on board, our collaboration partners, the biggest ones I think are MasterCard, Audi, the Ferry Porsche Stiftung, and maybe Krohe. But many, many more. These are the biggest players, but there are also a lot of smaller companies who are partners on our side already. And this is the last slide. And this is again contributing to something I said in the beginning. This is the reason why I'm really happy to work in my job and wake up every day and continue. We stand for visible impact. We see this impact like nearly every day when we have a picture of a river, a lake full of waste, as you can see on the left side. That was in Bosnia, if I'm not mistaken. And on the next day, the river is cleaned up. And this is what we do. I think the picture says everything. And I'm also looking forward to Jamie's presentation and to all questions afterwards.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I think one of the biggest things that's the most interesting about Everwave is that you guys aren't just like a garbage pickup, machine unit, and like sort and processing. You guys also focus a lot on like recycle and reuse, and the fact that I think you guys are using AI to learn and analyze the waste, to research long-term solutions is a huge game changer, because it's not, like you said, it's not just like, okay, let's just clean this up and move on. It's about figuring out how, and like how Tasia said, kind of stopping it from the beginning by learning what exactly and why exactly this is happening. And, similar to Tasia's, like, there's visible impact and there's invisible impact. And I think that's the whole point in the river system, is that we're going through such a micro and macro issues that we need to go through and find solutions for. And the fact that we're infiltrating, AI technology, which is still new, and we're learning how to use it for our benefit and to help. I think it was mentioned before that textile waste was about 20% of what you pick up. If I'm not wrong.
Up to. It depends on the season, actually.
Yeah. Which also shows, how much the textile industry, its impact into the producing countries and how it affects the lifestyle. And of course, it's something that needs to be kind of dealt with now to be able to learn like how to handle it in the future. So yeah, that was very interesting. Thank you so much for that. And I think, like you mentioned before, we didn't bring up too much about Remade in Cambodia because they're close friends of yours, especially in regards to collaboration. So I would love to get Mr. Jamie Rain on the platform. He is the Director of Business Development and co-founder at Remade in Cambodia. He is an experienced and passionate Australian digital marketing and business development consultant with over 5 years of experience in the private and development sectors in Southeast Asia. And I'm not going to mention too much of Remade because I'm going to leave that up to you. And welcome, Jamie.
Nasia. Pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you firstly to the people who've already presented. So to Jas and Jackie, a lot of the stuff you mentioned saves me a lot of time. So that's great. So there's a lot of key, we say systematical and technical areas which Remade focuses on, but I'm going to essentially show you the bit Jackie was alluding to. And what comes down to where we sit in the, let's say, supply chain and the eco chain for here. So as you heard with Jackie at Everwave is actually our partner and dear friend. We do a lot of events together. We even share an office together now, and it's a wonderful friendship and partnership. A big part of that is what you heard from Everwave is the collection side. And the thing we sit in terms of the stakeholder chain is, okay, we have the textile waste from Everwave. How do we transform, would say, trash to treasure? How do we transform, would say, river waste to the runway? And the reason, and I'll explain to you why we chose this medium, because a big part of this is actually connecting with the Khmer youth. In Cambodia, as it's a developing country, there's a big informal market. So if you try to Google it, you try to look for it, you can't find it. You have to be here. You have to know how to use Facebook and Khmer. You have to know someone who knows someone. That is the type of informal market Cambodia is, and it's very relationship based. So on that premise, there's a big untapped market where there's fantastic artisans, there's fantastic designers, fantastic tailors who know traditionally how to make products, how to do projects, but they lack access to, say, a bigger platform, to I would say, a consolidated platform where they're able to promote their businesses in textiles or in the arts, and at the same time be able to be part of a bigger community. So Remade came in on this circle where we went, okay, we can be a platform and help facilitate this informal to formal markets. So Everwaves to designers, and now we're able to open up a studio. We have fashion shows, and we have a bunch of things which I'll show you very shortly. But the main point of it is there is an untapped market in Cambodia, and there's fantastic artisans and even popular artisans making businesses, doing all these things, but you don't hear about them on a global scale. So we wanted to highlight that and give them the resources and social and working infrastructures to be able to do what they do and expand. And that was a big part of it. And it just happened to be through something, through a partnership with Everwave, that we were able to scale it and go, okay, we can turn this into something which can help the whole country in contrast to one event. So that's been a process over the last about 2.5, 3 years. I'll just start with something a bit interesting here too. So to let the work speak for itself, this was an event from 2023 called for Earth Day, which we partnered with Everwave and a bunch of other sponsors and partners. But essentially, we brought together a community event to highlight, would say, upcycled fashion, to show the potential of Khmer designers, and also what to break a stereotype that recycled slash upcycled fashion is low quality. That's a big issue we've had to dispel, and to show that it's a viable option overseas. It's been doing in the West. It's been a very popular option, but in Cambodia, it's considered very low. So we've had to kind of change the perception on this. So I'll just show you the video here from Honey. So that was Earth Day. That was about 1,500 people online and in person at the event from different backgrounds, and a lot of it was Khmer youth. Khmer youth have a major interest in this. They just don't know how to get involved, nor is there a consistent activity calendar for people to get involved, or programs which say is accessible for Khmer youth, and that's something we really focus on. So now, before I start my short presentation, I would love to know first, inside of the comment section, does anyone know any Cambodian designers? If you don't know any Cambodian designers, if you thought of Cambodian fashion, what do you think about? So I'd love to see in the chat if anyone has any ideas. If you think of Cambodian fashion like this, or you know a Cambodian designer. If you don't know any Cambodian designers, that also proves a big point. That's also okay. Okay, Marie, thank you very much. Okay, Marie, what do you think when you think of Cambodian fashion? What do you think about? Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Miss Auruj, thank you very much. So, Miss Auruj and Marie, what comes to mind when you think about Cambodian fashion? Okay, traditional clothing, yeah. Exotic colors, like any normal fashion, okay. Any other ones? Okay, so the answers you provided are actually, it's quite interesting because we get this a lot. So we ended up using a different word when describing remade. Instead of saying fashion Cambodian culture, we use contemporary Cambodian culture. Because since the Khmer Rouge and the development of the country, from the young people, with the median age in Cambodia is like 25.5 years old. So the new generation has a new culture of arts. And it doesn't always mean the traditional clothing or the exotic Angkor Wat imagery you may have seen. There is another generation of Khmer artisans who have their own ideas and identities, which they're putting into the culture and arts. And this is where we sit, because we're not making traditional Cambodian clothing out of upcycled or recycled textiles. We're making contemporary fashion, which is a reflection of the culture of the current times. So I'm going to open up a small presentation here. Firstly, one moment. What does this comment say? Let me just read this. Yeah. I mean, it's not so much the traditional in a modernized way. It's more like modernized Cambodian culture. And that's expressed very heavily in fashion. And as a textile country, it's a lot of it in the informal market is expressed on a local basis, but people don't know about it because it's very localized. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to show you here now. This. All right. So with the time I have here, I don't want to be talking so much. I really just want to gauge and to add value to the participants who are coming today and be able to answer any questions or any ideas you get from this small presentation here. So as we mentioned here, it's a river waste to fashion runaway. So the big part of it is who is remade. So we work with 30 NATS 33 local youth Khmer designers. A lot of the percentage of it is female. And the big part is why they joined us is they were looking for a platform to express their portfolios, to be able to showcase their designs, to be able to find a way to get their name out, because it's an emerging market. They have big dreams, but there's not often enough opportunities in Cambodia consistently for fashion design and fashion events. Now, our process, we call it the remade process, and this is where the collection part with Everwave comes in. As our collection partner, we collect clothing from Cambodian Rivers with our partner Everwave, and also clothesline from secondhand clothing. The two areas we're getting textiles from is one, Everwave, which is obviously from the river, and we're able to work at the Zero Waste Center and actually look through the textiles and be able to understand the compositions, which is very useful because in product design, the challenge, but also the innovation part of our work is how do we use mixed composition textiles and also inconsistent textiles to be able to create product lines. And that's a big challenge, but it's also a fun one. So this is only possible because of Jackie's team's collaboration and be able to work on ground with the team. And also with Clothesline is secondhand clothing where people donate or they collect secondhand clothing. There's a lot of it in Cambodia because a lot of it is imported from Korea, Japan. So often can also lead into the river as well, also or landfills. So if it doesn't get sold in a period of time, they get rid of it, and that's where we're able to intercept it and be able to say, hey, if you're not going to use it, why don't you give it to us for an event or for a product line? The next part of it is wash and sort. Surprisingly, this is one of the most difficult parts of remade, washing and sorting. So especially as Tejas and Jackie was saying, the water filtration, the water usage and wastage from washing clothing is quite high, is very high. And it has soap in it and has a bunch of reasons. So we're working with Everwave to make a better filtration system. But another part of it too is if you have all these textiles, you can't just put them through a conveyor belt and it sorts itself. You have to have actually a team, say with our Everwave team or also the remade team, to actually look at the composition and say what can be used. And the sorting process has been a developing area for us because you have to sort based off product. So if you know we've made a upcycled textile tote bag. So if I know that's the product we need, which has an X amount of supply or demand through contracts with business to business, I know we're looking for a particular textile. So then we look for that. But then there's also secondary things which we're not sure what to use. So we document it and then we figure out, okay, this is consistent. We're seeing, let's say, textile trimmings. What could that be? Could that be a keychain? Could that be something else? And this is the sorting process, which requires a lot of research and even a lot of discussion with Everwave, because there's a lot of consistency in the collections process, surprisingly. And we're still discovering why that's the case. And we have our theses and suspicions, but nothing proven yet. So we're just still researching. And lastly, okay, how do we promote textile sustainability and environmental sustainability in a cool and engaging way? That's why we came through the fashion shows, because if we put it in that, let's say, context and situation, people will come and they're happy and they're excited because it's relatable, it's accessible, and lastly, it's cool, it's on trend. And to be quite frank, recycling, upcycling, or the collection process in Cambodia is not considered cool. It's considered a lower status job. We have a term in Cambodia called ejais, and that's considered a low income job. So there's a lot of to be dealing with trash all the time. It's not considered very desirable. So we have to find a way to communicate that this is okay and this is something which is good for the country. Okay, so have a look. So after this is the 2023 collection, which we sold a lot of it during our auction. And these are my models, presiding myself over here. And as you can see, it's not like clothing which you wouldn't want to, it's not clothing which is low quality. This is high quality, high design level. And the designers, they come from design schools. Some of them learn informally. And one of our co-founders, Bong Mian, actually comes from a designer background and was a teacher. So he does quality checks. He goes through it to a stage where we can take it to retail. From our collection here, we were selling these outfits to individuals. Some of them were $200, some of them were $250, which was quite unheard of in Cambodia. And lastly here, so as you can see with the Earth Day events, as I mentioned, we just saw the video. This is some information on it here. But we also did other events, like I mentioned, the auction. So as you can see here, the auction here, we pioneered a live silent auction business model for young Cambodian designers to generate outfit sales for their brands. This was not done before because, one moment, sorry. This was not done before because the main part of it was considered live auctions were considered like people wouldn't buy. So we had to make it in an engaging way for people to actually want to auction live and bid. And it worked. It was very complicated, but we were able to sell about, I think, 35 outfits at an average of $200. And lastly, with the collaboration with GIZ, we also were able to bring Cambodia's first designer to the Global Fashion Summit, in which this is our global ambassador, Tiffany. And Tiffany has her own brand. She works very closely with Remade. We do many projects together. We just did TEDx last month with Tiffany as a global ambassador. And the big part of it is she was able to speak to big brands directly and to say, hey, like, you work a lot on the top side of things where you make changes, but I'm on the bottom side and I'm seeing the trash and I'm seeing it affect my community. I'm seeing what fast fashion has. And she was able to open up a Discord, which was very localized and genuine. Okay. So that's all the presentation I have here. Before I close up and ask some questions to the audience to finish up, would it be possible, honey, to show the last video? So you got to see some of the collections, and you got to also see, we'll say our process. But let's have a look at the stakeholders. A big stakeholder inside of Remade is actually the models. So I'll play this video here from Honey, from our team, and I'll explain to you.
Hi, hello, my name is Ricky. Okay, I'm 18 years old right now, and I today come here for the casting made in Cambodia.
Hello everyone, my name is Elin and I'm 26 years old. I'm from India, but I've been living here in Cambodia for 5 years. I'm super excited, also nervous at the same time because I see many people here and yeah, I'm excited.
So as you can see with the video, we were just from an online form on social media, we had 280 models come to casting, excited to walk and to be part of the next show. And we also had about 350 online, but the schedules didn't work out well enough. So now you're going to have an idea of the product, the service, the designers. Does anyone have any questions? And does anyone, would anyone buy any of this stuff? Maybe as a gift for a friend or wear it for an event?
I mean, definitely would buy for my closet. No, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Jamie, for the time. You're right, like Cambodia, I've lived in Cambodia for 7 years. I just moved away now, but it did, especially 7 years ago when I first arrived, there was such a disconnect considering, so much of the textile industry is in Cambodia for like the world, versus how much of Cambodia itself or like, and I think a lot of producing countries have this issue where there's a disconnect there between how much they can actually input into the textile industry and have a voice. And it is a big informal market that you are trying to tap to connect art and people and design and infiltrate it into, fast fashion and the textile industry. And I think the goal that it seems that you mean for Remade is to have organizations and brands kind of have a responsibility to help the country and to give the country a voice that they're producing in, to learn and lean into a local collaboration with young designers in the future to bring to kind of a universal platform, because, and this is something that a lot of organizations kind of, we're all suppliers, we're all producers, but we also have to look into the design that we are producing. And I think that's kind of what Remade is trying to tap into.
Yeah, a big part of it is, and I get this from our advisors a lot who worked in retail a lot. They said, like, since day one, they always told me, Jamie, don't market the products for the 1% who care about sustainability. If you do that, you're going to lose because your market share is too small in Cambodia. People have to want to buy it because it's high quality. The identity of the brand and the product actually resonates with the consumer, and it happens to be sustainable. If you and what we learned too was if we said, oh, this is sustainable fashion, you should buy it because it's helped the environment, the proposition is out of guilt. There's a guilt proposition, and then what that leads to is buyer's remorse. So to avoid this, we buy it because it's customized for you. It speaks your volumes. It talks about something you're passionate about. Our last collection was inspired by the Tole sap birds. So we had 10 birds, which were endangered. And the challenge we're having is actually scaling because now we're making product and our product system, we're learning how to make better products and so on. There is more demand than there is supply for us. So we have demand that people want to buy, we have a studio, they want to come in, but we can't produce quick enough yet because we're still building our team to be able to go to full supply channels. So the demand and opportunity, and it is considered a very sexy business, a very sexy industry to be in at this current moment. But in reality, our main focus is to first develop sustainable jobs. Like, it's very important to be able to make this a feasible option for people. obviously protect the environment, but through I wouldn't say through guilt, but through it makes sense. It's the better option. It doesn't, it's just the more convenient, the more effective option is to do it this way. And that's the kind of proposition we're trying to deliver. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I will, I think, bring in Jackie and Tejas onto the platform so that we can open the Q&A. It seems we're having quite a couple of questions, so we can get through them and we can kind of discuss more how you guys are all interconnected through essentially the river. So I think the first question, we can go in order, is for Jackie. And Ahmed was asking, are you delivering that project in any other South Asian countries? If yes, which one? If not, do you have any plans to expand in the region?
Yeah, thank you for this question. We have a lot of plans, indeed. Yeah, in terms of expansion, our focus is definitely on Cambodia, because we started here, and yeah, we also want to stick to the country. And as I mentioned in the presentation, trying to clean up all the rivers. We have another project in Thailand. We started it last year. There also an expansion is planned. In Bangkok, in the canals. So the situation is a little bit different. Here we are working on the rivers, and yeah, they're on the canals. We are looking into Indonesia quite a lot right now. So we have a lot of leads and a lot of interests for Indonesia. But yeah, we are before we can start a project, it needs a lot of further steps. It needs the initiation phase. Then we go into the country and we do some scouting first and check if the boat can really work there. So I think a new project could start next year. This year will be too short, but the plans are there, and the focus is definitely Southeast Asia. And right now the focus is on Indonesia. But yeah, I'm always happy about connections, collaboration partners, partners who would like to support to start a new project, because this is always yeah, what holds us back. Like if we have a big sponsor for a new project, it can be done faster, of course. But yeah, the answer is yes. We are expanding.
Yes, and I think somebody actually was asking about your plastic credit initiative. So I think you're gonna have a connection there in the chat box. They also asked, do you have any figures of what amount of textile waste you're collecting from rivers?
Okay, yeah, first about plastic credits, I think I saw that question. Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to support us. I will put our webpage here in the chat. So it's possible through our page. But you can also reach out to me. I'll just drop my email address. Just have to place the @ I cannot type it here, or on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me. That's no problem. And yeah, the amount of textiles, I think I mentioned that very shortly. It's varies a bit, actually. We don't have an average right now because we had some yeah, for some weeks we couldn't sort out that properly as we wanted to, which gives us a little bit of a yeah, not completely right average on the textile waste that we were collecting. But in some months the amount was up to 20%. This also includes leather, for example. So we also collect a lot of shoes and yeah, like all textiles, everything that you would count as textiles goes into that 20%. But for some months we also had around 10, 14. It really depends on what hot season, on dry season, and water season. Yeah, right now we collect a lot again, and now we have dry season. And the main reason, I think, right now is because like the textiles are heavy. So when they're coming into the river, they're like, we cannot basically collect them because they're like floating on the ground. So we can mostly only collect what is kind of attached with the other plastics on the surface. or we collect on the riverbank. But now during dry season, the water level is dropping a lot. I think in total 8 or 9 meters. So it's really significant. And all the textiles that are also like in the mud can be collected now. So the amount is really higher.
Yeah.
I hope that answers.
Thank you. I think I have one here for Tejas. It's a little bit more of a technical question. It's asking, can you please raise the initiative for standardization of waterless dyeing and finishing the textiles as the only technology for dyeing finishing because of the global scarcity of water, since waterless technology has already been implemented in textile dyeing?
I think it is a fantastic question. Uh, I agree to it. I completely agree to it. But see, when we speak about textile, apparel, leather industry, we have to first understand the kind of depth this industry has. There is no one size which fits all. This is the first and foremost requirement. Plus, when we speak about adopting a new technology, it also has an element of costing involved in it. The next part is the scalability. It should not happen that only one particular manufacturer or a brand of machinery is doing this and creating a monopoly in the industry. It has to be availability, it has to be the scalability. But why can't we look into this in optimizing our resource? See, adopting a new technology is a good thing, and it's not everyone's cup of tea to adopt a new technology every now and then, because it has a significant impact on the budget which company plans over the years. But the company or the facility can also look into options of looking out of safer alternatives which can reduce the wash off cycles. Say for example, at present I am dyeing probably polyester and cotton. It has 7 or 8 wash off cycles to undertake the finishing process. Why can't I use sustainable chemistry chemicals in that way, which reduce my wash off cycles from 7 to 4, or 7 to 3, or 7 to 5, which reduces the water consumption, which reduces the load what comes in the ETP, which reduces the overall time needed for running the machine, and which further reduces the energy consumption and the GHG emission. So I think the point is very well taken. I think the technologies are available these days. Yes, I was fortunate enough to see this in one of exhibition last year, and yeah, the technology is amazing. But the issue comes about the scalability. Is industry ready to adopt those technology? That is also a challenge, because not all technologies are fit for undertaking the wet processing for all segments of the fibers, all sort of fibers. That point also needs to be taken into consideration. But yes, I think this is a fantastic question, and I think in the times to come, we will be having such kind of innovative solutions to address the scarcity of the water. But amazing question. I really appreciate this question.
Thank you, Tejas. I'm just going to pause for a second to mention that we do have a feedback form in case you found this webinar really interesting. We'd love to hear about it in case we would love to move in this direction in the future. So please feel free to fill out the feedback form whenever you like. And then I'll just hop back into the questions because there does seem to be some interesting ones here. Tejas, while we're actually on you, I think I have a specific question where you were discussing total suspend solids indicator for microfiber shedding. And I think now that the EU regulations are being put into place on microplastics and is becoming a bigger topic for the industry and for suppliers. And I think, everything always falls on the producers and the suppliers to try to fix it. How are we kind of moving forward to be able to even track this? Like, what is TSS?
So TSS stands for total suspended solids. Okay, that is the definition. What is happening is all the global brands or the local regulations, they are pushing all their supply chain partners to ensure that there is no microfiber shedding. See, when you wash a particular fabric, when you wash a particular garment, it is bound to happen that there are some microfibers which are coming out of the fabric, which are coming onto your ETP. And if those are not properly contained, those will be going in the water bodies, which will be connected to the seas, which will be connected to the oceans, which will be connected to the rivers, or any other pathway where the water is going. The studies shows that if the microfibers or if the microplastic are going on to the oceans or going on to the river bodies, those are consumed by small fish. Okay, the small fish are the first in the food chain for those big fish, and those big fish are consumed by us. So indirectly, those things are coming back to us, and those are having this kind of chronic effects, which are passed on from hereditary stages. So it is very important to address this thing. So what at ZDHC we did, we in our new guideline, we are trying to link total suspended solids as a key indicator for the microfiber shading. And we have jointly conducted a project with the Microfiber Consortium, who is one of a pioneer institution in doing such kind of studies, along with an external third-party renowned laboratory from Germany, that is Hohenstein Institute. So ZDHC, Hohenstein Institute, and the Microfiber Consortium have jointly come together, and we have undertaken the study. The results are in process, and we are in process of establishing a correlation between the total suspended solid and the microfiber shading. So a supplier will get an indicator about what is the quantity of microfibers they are shedding through their effluent treatment, which is total suspended solid. That is what I can say at the moment, and the result will be published shortly. So stay tuned to our newsletter. It will be shared to all our stakeholders and our website shortly once it is ready. That is what I can say at this moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the little tidbit of insight we get before it comes out. Speaking about washing, and I have a question. I think it's kind of a dual question for maybe Jackie and Jamie can have team go at this, where we discuss washing. How do you guys wash the clothes from the river, and washing alternatives you use that are environmentally friendly and doesn't add to the wastewater? And at the same time, how about, let's see here, there was one in regards to the amount of kilos of textile waste you take in per month, which I think Jackie touched on a little bit based off of the Cambodia aspect of it, and how much can you actual process and turn into new products per month, because obviously maybe some of the textiles can be used and some maybe not. And I think just to kind of recap all of those questions, which are just washing, do you think all of this can be used and moved over maybe into countries like Pakistan or India, where the scale is so much larger?
Jamie, do you want to start? Like, I mean, especially about the washing part.
Sorry, that was like all at once.
Jackie and I look at each other like we're still figuring it out.
And it's okay that you can also say, like, this is still very new and you guys are learning as you're going. I mean, this is like, even implementing AI is such a new concept that I think we're all just very interested to see in the future if this can actually be implemented in different aspects.
Yeah, I think like in terms of scaling, it's the processes we have. As let's just say we're in the project's been running for 3 years, but we're in our first business year. We just formed as a business in the last, say, 12 months, and a big part of that is like running through the different like tracking and the development models. So like, for example, one of the things we are constantly trying to figure out how to optimize is tracking that waste. Because, for example, like, okay, Jackie has her number of textile waste measured. So when we collect from the Zero Waste Center, part of the process is we collect it and then we weigh it. We take a photo, we record it for Everwave. Okay, that's their process. That data is now collected. Now, when we have it, we have to separate it and figure out what can be used. And we separate by color. The reason we separate by color is it's color theory in design, fashion design. Color theory works across all collections. That's one of the biggest unifying factors. And then when we collect it, some of it doesn't get used and some of it does get used. So when a designer collects it from us, we have to weigh it. And then after they produce their clothing, we weigh the clothing. And then there's a gap. which say wastage. So in that wastage, ideally, we're able to get back and then find another use for it. But that wastage process is very technical. It's very hard, and this is what we're trying to figure out. When a designer makes something and then we give them the clothing, there is like trimmings. There's a lot of things they're not collecting. There's as it's a new process. So in terms of scalability, I believe we have to spend at least another year in tracking processes, development processes before it's tight enough to scale, I would say. And also more collaboration with Everwave because there's a lot of crossing paths we have. And I believe as this is something a big project for us coming this year with Everwave is for the Zero Waste Center, which is a wonderful facility where we're sorting. Remade will be investing into the facility for the washing process. So we'll invest into the water filtration, into the actual sorting collection part for the textiles. And that's one of our big joint partnership things we're working on now to be able to consolidate the information and the processes. Because yeah, the Remade has investment for this, and that's something we have to figure out before we can scale. But it's I'd say definitely, Jackie, if you agree with me, on the upside, because our collaboration process is very close and would say daily. So we're able to make solutions quite quickly now. Now we have a stronger partnership and writing up a contract for this particular scope. What do you think, Jackie, about all that?
No, I can totally agree. I'm looking forward to scale up. I just was a little bit. I wanted to give you the floor first, especially because of the first question was regarding the washing part. And like after, like Jamie said, we are collecting. We have our tracking system, and after that, it stopped from our side because we don't have the infrastructure to wash the clothes at our facility yet. So exactly what Jamie is addressing now, we didn't have that, and we didn't wanted to like use anything that is then like we discussed before, in the end is not good for the water, for the groundwater. So we don't have proper wastewater treatment. So that's really, it's amazing that Remade is now going to invest and makes our facility bigger, and that the treatment of the textile waste will be a bigger role in our facility. That's really, really cool. So before, the washing was processed at a proper washing place. I'm not exactly where, but yeah, don't think it's super important. It was like washed with proper washing machines. Let's say it like that. And in future, we are going to change that. Yeah. Oh, I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think this is about the time that we have for our webinar, but I would like to mention, I think the biggest connection that this river has with all of the work that you guys are implementing through different kind of channels is the key kind of takeaways collaboration, which seems to be
Asya,
what's
before we close in, I have one more input. Just to add on what Jamie and Jackie just said. The question was also for having a suitable alternative which ends up environmental friendly into the wastewater and effluents. So at ZDHC, as I mentioned earlier, we have solutions for that. We are working on sustainable chemical management framework, which also certifies chemicals for a certain level of their standards, say for level 1, level 2, and level 3. And those are the clinically proven, tested chemicals which are available on our ZDHC gateway. All you have to do is you have to register on the ZDHC gateway, okay, as a supplier. When I say supplier, it is basically a textile mill or a apparel unit or a denim washing unit or a laundry or a leather tannery, anything. Once you are registered on that, you can access the ZDHC gateway, which is basically a database of chemical formulators comprising of various set of chemicals, starting from the pre-treatment, actual dyeing, finishing, leather tanning, fat liquors, whatever chemical you name, what are needed in the facility are listed. And we have suppliers across the globe who are certified with this. So there are various levels, level 1, 2, 3. And level 1 starts with the minimum requirements, which product speaks in terms of the product compliance. Again, I'm relating it with the question there, because all these things, all these claims are done by the chemical formulating companies, which are validated, tested by the external third party, who are our approved solution providers, and the certificates are issued to them. So who claim that the TDS, BOD, COD, or pH, or particular what that parameter is, what goes into effluent, is at the lowest level or within the prescribed limit. So that acts as a suitable alternative for the chemicals which may leach out in the effluent, what that is wastewater and sludge. Sorry, I disrupted you, but I think this was relevant to add on here. So I just thought to add those points here.
No, that's perfect. I was just talking about collaboration. So.
I made a note already. I will reach out to you. Thank you very much.
You summarized it perfectly for me, the webinar. So thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate all the knowledge, and I know that you guys have put a lot of effort into kind of finding new solutions and continuing research, which is which has to be done, because everything is constantly changing in the textile industry, and it's really just about collecting the data and trying to also implement some creativity and implement the economy in the local communities. So thank you so much, everyone, for your input today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a good day. Oh, and I want to mention, we will have the recorded video up on YouTube and the Asia Garment Hub in the next couple of days. So if you missed anything, we will have it linked for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the moderation and this really nice webinar. It was really nice to meet you and exchange. Thank you very much.
We will
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Teja.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.